What would you say about the treatment? Was it presidential? Was it court?
To restore legality. And then the one which was very obvious, what they wanted was, that was Baba Kingibe of Nigeria, the foreign minister. He also came with the sole purpose, in his own terms, and as he put it, to restore, the mistake. At the time I couldn't know exactly, what would have involved. Like I said, one of my theories, which I hope at some point, if and when you get past Alajan here, will be able to elaborate on that. But he said he wants to rectify a mistake that happened in the Gambia, that Abacha felt responsible somehow for the coup.
And who was Kingibe?
Kingibe was the foreign minister of Nigeria at the time.
At the time.
Yes. But then to our understanding, Senegal said they would not, Nigerian troops will not use their airspace or land space, to land route. Yes.
And what was the situation with regards to Sadauda? Did he have freedom of movement while he was in Dakar?
I don't think he had any desire to go. And the only place he went to was to my auntie, who was cooking for us. That was towards the end, just to thank her. So she was the one cooking for us every day. So we see him and Lady Chilel went in person to visit her, and then just to thank her for all the service she rendered to us while we are staying in Dakar. But he didn't have any stomach to go anywhere. I don't think they would have stopped him going anywhere, because where would he go? He was more interested in communicating, and that was denied him.
You mean communication with the outside world?
The outside world, yeah.
Was what?
That was denied him. President Rawlings of Ghana. He was the first to invite us, and then they provided the fare, and then so we had to go there. So we went to meet him to explain the situation, what happened in the Gambia.
Did you attend that meeting?
Yes, I was there at that meeting, and then during the meeting, President Rawlings said, he told Sadauda when Sana Sabali and Co came here, I tried to tell them, you will have a hard time convincing the world that this man is what you're claiming him to be. Because we all know him. Analyze why he had a coup in Ghana. But Sadauda was categorical. So the Ghana press was waiting, so he asked him to write a press statement. But he said, I want to see. He wanted to see Sadauda's press statement before he releases to the journalists. He wrote it, and when he saw it, he said, no, you can't say this. If you say this, you'll put me in trouble.
Do you know what Sadauda said in
well,
that statement?
I cannot say I only know the conversation, but I know it will be knowing him, it will be in his line of condemnation of all coups. It was very strongly worded, and then Rawlings said if he utters that, to the press, he'll be in trouble. So they agreed to disagree. There was no press conference. Then he gave us a flight to go and meet Abacha.
Abacha.
Abacha, yeah.
In which country?
In Nigeria. He was then the president in Nigeria.
And what happened there?
I'm not sure I got anything positive from Abacha. The only thing is helping him financially, just a bit for his family, because even at Hayward,
Was concerned.
yes.
Did you go anywhere else?
We went to Guinea-Conakry, and then we meet. This were all like one trip, so sometimes we wait for a while, few months. We went to America as well. Went to meet Kofi Annan, UN.
Can you tell us about that one?
It was this were like all, if I say, colleagues that he had a very good interpersonal relationship with. Kofi Annan, I think when we are there, we met Dr. Wallen. Not interested, giving his interpersonal relationship with Sadauda, what transpired. And Sadauda was like, anything else is better than these people. The check was going to be issued because it found Sarah Jangha there that particular day. So they will be very much interested in the financial situation in the country. So we felt that we had to meet those institutions and brief them regarding what is happening.
Essentially, Mr. Gassama, when they lifted the anchor at Banjul port, the Jawara government ended there and then.
Yeah, there and then, yeah.
Yes, you have continued to look into the situation as to what happened. What would you say?
To be an attack on Banjul via Denton Bridge, he couldn't understand that. And he instructed his counselor to find this from the Palm sect to no avail. After several attempts, the only answer he got, it was approved by the vice president, which is another way of just laying the opportunity for soldiers in the guise of having to have an exercise he doesn't know about, to find a way to attack Banjul. So the whole thing, only him can come and clarify, the situation, because it's all dubious, to put it mildly. Yeah.
Thank you. Commissioner Carr.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. I have two questions I would want clarification on. The first is, did former President Jawara speak to you about any possible motivation for Senegal's refusal to allow him to come to power? That's the first. The second is, one of the witnesses who came here also mentioned that if Jawara had stepped down in '92, when he promised in one of the rallies that he was going to step down, it would have been different. Would that be something you would agree with? And how did that really play in power politics within the cabinet?
Okay. Regarding the Senegalese situation, the same question was put to him at Marlborough House by Sir Anthony Goodenough of the Foreign Office. Why Senegalese attitudes toward him. Well, he only gave one sentence. He just said, I was defending the national interests of my country, referring to the Confederation. What transpired, what he was defending, he never elaborated. But I was saying, and they said, what's the problem? What's the problem with him, between you two? He just said, I was defending the national interest of my country. And that's all he said regarding that. As far as the 1992, where he was going to leave, I thought it started from there because it was about succession of power. We've seen across the border when Senghor left, he had an heir apparent that he nominated. But Sadauda has always been of the opinion that this conversation I once had with him was if he nominates somebody and the party doesn't like that person, his influence is making that person to be elected. And he become a poor leader because the nation and the party are not behind that person. He said it's natural when party meet, a leader should be elected. Not everybody is expected to agree to that. But whoever emerges as a leader, he expected the party to rally behind. You know, at that time, after that incident, also, Aji Fatou Sallah and Aji Safindao were spearheading the return of SM Diba to PPP. You know, I remember a political bureau meeting where there was a heated argument as to what SM Diba, if and when he comes, should be given. You know, some said by virtue of his position as the head of the party, you know, should be given something substantial. Some said he has to come and then, how do you call it, prove his loyalty to the party. So I remember that particular, very, very heated at the political bureau, you know. I'm just, like I said, soldier, I'm not a politician, you know, but this for somebody, I'm observing from at a distance. So you could see probably the rationale behind, you know, even if Sadauda has nominated someone different, and this particular person has this means, it wouldn't have stopped a coup. Because if their personal ambition is either by hook or crook, I want to be the leader of this country, they will use whatever means, if it's available to them. And then what the army was at the time was infested by surrogates, you know, that they selected, implanted them into the army. Some things that are warned against. I came to understand at a cabinet meeting at the inception of the army. But then this has been going on, which he became clear after that 1992 incident. So I'm not sure whether appointing someone would have prevented, if it is not the person who wants to be, wasn't elected to leave. So with or without that, you know, some people have some ulterior motives, and they have the means, they will do it.
Final question. Did Sadauda have any retirement plan? What was his?
That was his final. That's definitely, to me, that was his final term. He wasn't going to stand and all that. That was by after the 1992, the next one is going to contest the election. He was going to leave. And that's why all this movement of SM Diba, because they all realize an opportunity now, he wants to come back to the party.
Sirif Mustafa Diba?
Yes, Sirif Mustafa Diba of NCP, yes. Yeah.
Thank you very much. If there are no further questions, Imam C, sorry.
Imam C,
thank you, Gassama. We thank you for the clarifications you've given. We thank you so much.
Thank you very much indeed. There are no further questions, Council. Please.
The witness was asked a question by Commissioner Kinte, and I just want to ask one follow-up question to that. In fact, a question I intended to ask earlier, but for some reason it escaped me. A lot of fingers are now being pointed by this testimony to the Minister of Defense at the time. But I have a few questions on that. Do you know whether Keba Sise, the DG of NSS, do you know whether he briefed the Minister of Defense at the time about what was going on?
No, I have no idea that he's going to brief him. Like you said, we're still talking about the follow-up thing. With my conversation with Daba Marina, the late Daba Marina, was Keba knew. He knew everything as far as this thing is concerned. Of course, if my colleague comes to testify, you would know exactly from where this statement is coming from. He will put both.
I agree with that. That is an important piece of information.
Yeah.
But the question is, do you know whether Keba Sise did brief the Minister of Defense about what was going on at the time?
No, I didn't see him going there. He never mentioned going to the Minister of Defense to go and brief him. I've never seen him going towards that end. I never saw them together as well.
Would it be out of the ordinary that as Minister of Defense, he would know that extraordinary things or disturbances were happening in the military barracks, correct?
Yes, because it's his whole responsibility. He is in charge of the entire defense of the country.
So therefore, the fact that he knew that something was happening in the barracks would not be surprising, correct?
No.
Thank you.
Thank you very much. Mr. Gassama, would you have any concluding remarks to make?
Yes.
Please proceed.
Some of my colleagues, I listened to them, their testimonies here. And then this theory was put forward that their intention was 3 months, and then they would just hand over to civil rule. Following the the thread of comments around social media and everything, some people think that's a kind of a laudable thing. I always say a function of intellect in anything, is advisory. It's advisory because you have the data, that you assess the data, and that will inform your decision to act. And then if these people are, some of them portray some level of intelligence, if they scouted around the world, as in Africa in particular, I don't see you will see a success story of a coup d'etat anywhere. If you go beyond all the pomp and ceremony and all the rhetoric, and you go to the specificity of their policy positions, by and large, they end up wrecking the economy of that particular country. Not talking about the havoc they wreak on the families and the lives of the citizens of those countries. So to try to dress it in such a nice way as our intention was only 3 months, to me, it's a complete defect in there. If they had any modicum of intelligence, anybody tells you, even if it's for a day, because you are carrying out an act whose consequences, the consequences you cannot control, you don't know where you're going to, and then the people you are going to put in power anyway, they did not have the mandate. To me, it is the most cowardly act, because you find yourself, you cannot talk to the people and convince them. If you want to be a politician, talk to the people and convince them that you want them to vote for you and elect you to be in a position of leader by your agenda, by your ideology. But the thing that you have to do it by the power of, a barrel of a gun, to me, I think it's very, is the wrong thing to do in any circumstances. We should be categorical. We should not even entertain it. We should not try to sanitize it or even try to rationalize it. And then these are people, because I've seen some people who say, oh, they are heroes. Whenever I see that, I feel sad. Because some very good soldiers, lost their lives. I'm just reminded when we send soldiers to Liberia, they were young. Excuse me, sir. I'm okay. I'm okay. This few minutes. Okay.
We'll suspend the meeting for about 5 minutes.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman.
Thank you.
Mr. Gassama, welcome back.
My apologies.
Are you able to proceed?
Yes, please. My apologies for that. It's just that we had a very close bonding. You know, in my time, even my 5 years away from the camp, it was like I never left. You know, I was going to say when we sent our soldiers to Liberia, they didn't question the rationale behind sending them, given that our sub-region was under threat from the intelligence they gathered at the time about what Gaddafi was meant to unleash in the sub-region. The Anglophone-speaking West African countries took it upon themselves and then to go to aid another country, with the exception of France. Guinea-Conakry. You know, these were young people, very brave. They never said we are inexperienced or anything else. They went, baptism of fire, literally. You know, they excel in executing their duties without fear. You know, to come back and be subjected to your fellow Gambian as a friend, to meet a kind of treatment that has, they have undergone. It's very sad. Anyway, that's what I wanted to say about them. You know, we don't want to see that ever happening in this country again. We all want to forgive. We all say it's the Gambian character, the Maslaha culture. But I remember one thing Claudius said in Hamlet when he was asking for forgiveness. He asked this question: how can God forgive him? When he coveted the crown, he got it. He coveted the king's wife, he got it. He coveted power, and he got it. And you said you want forgiveness. By that I mean those people who are still in position of influence within our current government, having meted this kind of either by torture, as the Quran says, torture is even worse than murder, and to see them still serving, to me, that's not something that's going to encourage reconciliation. We want to forgive, but we cannot forgive and then expect you to carry on the benefits of what you've gained by virtue of the position you hold now, when the rest of these families, victims' families, are languishing and they are struggling. And then we say, because of our Maslaha culture, forgive them. And they still maintain that position within the government, whether here or abroad or in any diplomatic career. I think, to me, that is wrong. That is something that we don't have to wait for the completion of this particular commission. That one, at the bare minimum, should be relieved of their duties. You know, we're not accusing, we're not saying try them. We, at one time, these were our brothers, very good brothers at that. We want to be able to say, we forgive you, meet you, you know, but you cannot come and commit all those things and you still want to maintain those positions, especially within the army itself. You know, I think that one is something that definitely the whole nation need to speak out on that particular one. Okay. The other thing I wanted to address was, this goes to our religious colleagues here. What made us all sit down here looking after the human rights violation issues, or be it the Constitution, or be it to my, be it our sovereignty. To me, to my understanding, we owe a lot to our religious scholars we had before, starting from either from Al-Kindi, Ibn Sina, Imam Malik or Imam Ghazal, Ibn Rushd. On the Christian side, you have St. Ambrose, St. Augustine, St. Thomas and Aquinas. You know, these were all influential philosophers that came to shape the society. Even people like, through their scholastic training, gave us what we are now trying to fight for, either human rights or to establish our own sovereignty. And I think what had happened here, our religion, they are meant to be our internal moral legislatures, in showing not only philosophically, but in showing be our moral compass. But what had happened in the 22 years, it's very sad to say, we've seen people do certain things bad, and then we excuse it in the form of, how would I call it, causal determinism. That's something that God has ordained. You know, we have to decide either to be a nation of laws, you know, anybody, there's a point of responsibility where you must be responsible for your actions. You cannot excuse everything to either biological determinism, as I've seen some people do. It happened X place, Y place, so therefore it's okay, or somehow alluding to that if it happens here. Or it's something ordained by God. We all know that's not true. You know, I think we need our religious leaders, these two great religions, you know, to step forward. It might not be popular, but anytime something is wrong in society, for them to speak out. To our politicians, Rome was not built in a day. You know, in Europe, they had about 100 years war. In Britain, about 35 years war. And still 2 years we have Brexit. We couldn't get it right. We don't expect any political party to come and get everything right at the first go. What we must never try to do, to have a shortcut by thinking that by influencing the army to help you in your own project, is your quickest way to success. That's always, and to me, a route for disaster. And it will take, like Honorable MC Cham said here, 50 years or so, you set back to recover. You know, the emotional scar alone, you know, will take, God knows, decades for us to recover from. You know, politicians should be mindful of what they say. People who join the army, for us, we never coveted anything from anybody. It's just to serve your nation. That's all we wanted to do. Because we're talking about sector reforms. You know, buying the loyalty of the army, it never works in any country. In fact, statistics have shown the more you spend to buy the upper echelon of the army, the more likelihood you'll be overthrown. Because at some point, the highest bidder will come. Army is meant to believe in your values, in your standards, in the ethos of the country, selflessly serving, without looking for any riches. This is what I know to be the army. I think I'll end it here. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much, Mr. Gassama.
Thank you very much, Mr. Gassama, for those very wise words. And a special thanks, really, to you for having traveled thousands of miles to come and assist them at this commission in creating a historical record of what happened in 22 years, 1994 to 2017. Your contribution covers the phase that sets the context in which those 22 years of violations really happened. It's a vital part of our exercise, and we want to thank you enormously for coming all the way here to testify before this commission. If there are no questions, thank you very much indeed.
Thank you.
See what?
No further questions for the witness, Mr. Chairman, except that I would wish to put in the list of those who are on board the ship as an exhibit to be exhibit number 25, 0025. With your indulgence, Mr. Chair, we add this document on the record.
Thank you. Request granted.
Thank you.
Thank you very much, indeed. And the Commission is not meeting tomorrow. We have other functions to carry out, but we will meet here again. The next public hearing would be on Tuesday, Monday being a public holiday, Independence Day. If there are no further questions or points to make, we would end the day today and wish you all happy Independence Day and a good weekend. The meeting is adjourned. Thank you.